Hello and welcome into the starters. I'm Dave, that's Simon, and that's George. How's it going, boys?
Now being called the Mustachio one.
Can't take this podcast seriously, Dave. I can't do it.
I love it. Simon is clean shaven for the first time in years. I've worked with Simon for years. Never seen him this clean shaven.
I don't know.
It's true. I've never seen him that clean shaven either. He looks like a young buck. Looks like a young buck.
Yeah. George got a mustache, and
George has an amazing mustache.
The last time we did a podcast, things change, my friend.
Things change. It's a fast-moving world we got.
I absolutely love it. Speaking of things changing, the Montreal Canadiens made a quick change to their lineup and their roster, and they sent over the 16th and 17th overall pick. And, of course, Emil Heineman, which was a bit of a surprise, I guess, to the New York Islanders for, of course, Noah Dobson, who ended up signing a big 8-year extension. So, guys, I just want to say it got the Montreal Canadiens, Reddit, and social media buzzing. It was a very, very big day when this happened. I just want to know from you guys' perspective, is it a yay or a nay or a meh?
No, listen, I was on the air filling in for Campbell when that happened. So literally like a child, just refreshing every 2-3 minutes. And then we actually had Campbell on and we're talking Alouettes football. And then Gallo says, hold on. And then I'm like, before we say anything, just tell me who it is exactly. Who is it? It's like Kevin Weeks. I'm like, okay, we're done here. At least we've got, that confirmation. Look, the question of the day that day was, would you package Reinbacher up to trade Noah Dobson? And there was a lot of pushback with the text messages saying no. One, maybe Reinbacher becomes Dobson and you don't have to pay him whatever dollar amount you have to pay Dobson. So that was the pushback and everything else. And for me too, I'm like, yeah, Dobson's great, but is it $11 million? Is it Reinbacher pick 16? Next year's number 2? And there was so many still moving parts. But when it came in, you were a playoff team last year. You didn't touch any of your core players. And I think Emil Heineman is going to be Arturi Lehkonen type player. He's a quality NHLer. But no Reinbacher, no Mayu, no Michael Hage, no Owen Beck, no top 10 pick, no pick next year that maybe this season for the Canadiens is a terrible season and everything goes wrong because there's injuries or whatever else. And they're a non-playoff team. And then the pick you gave up for him is next year's first round pick, and it happens to be something in the top 6. So I don't know what you don't like. And then the number comes in at 9.5. I think that's a very manageable number. He had a career year at 70 points. I don't think that's going to happen on the regular, but 50, 55, you put that with Hudson's 55, 60. I don't know what else you can ask for. The Canadiens are still weak down the middle, but your saving grace is this. I think 1 through 4, whether it's Gooley, Hudson, and Dobson, and then we'll see if it's Matheson going forward. Is it Reinbacher going forward? That's your top 4, and you can go up against the Barkov and the Bennett. You can go up against the Marner and the Matthews and the Tavares. You can go up against the Point. You can go up against teams that maybe are more stacked at you at center by running out 4 guys that can play all over the ice. So I can't see here a loss. I know that Islanders fans were showing every single clip that he gave the puck away and all that stuff. He's not great in his own end. That's fine. That's fine. Well, it might even be a reality, Dave. It might even be a reality. But you know what? Get a save. Get a little bit better in your own end. Become a better hockey team. Control the puck more. Have the puck more than your opposition does. And things get a lot easier for Noah Dobson and the Canadiens. So I think it's a win across the board. I can't really see it another way.
Nice. George?
So, this is one of those rare times where the rumor actually comes to fruition. It's rarely happens, but
especially involving the Habs.
Exactly. And it's funny because I had given up on the rumor because it was preceded by that the Canadiens were negotiating with one very tall Finnish player that's on our roster presently. And I had trouble believing that they were negotiating with him for a long-term contract. So I said to myself, I kind of put the Noah Dobson speculation to bed. And lo and behold, I'm listening to Simon and having my coffee, and all of a sudden the news breaks, and I fall out of my chair. I mean, you look at this, and it just makes so much sense. It's crazy. A 25-year-old right-handed defenseman that plays 23, 24 minutes a game. They don't come cheap. They don't grow on trees. And yeah, he's 6'4". I mean, he was a borderline Four Nations Cup guy for Canada. Noah Dobson's a legit player. Did he have a bad year? I think Noah Dobson will be the first guy to tell you he had a bad year. But Noah Dobson, there's proof he can play hockey at this level and be a number one defenseman, because he did it. He did it for 2 full seasons where he was very good. And one of those seasons, he had 70 points. And I agree with Simon. It's probably not going to happen every year. But you put this guy with Gooley, and all of a sudden you've got like a real number one, number two pairing defense that can play big minutes against the best players on the other team. I think it absolutely shores up a need that the Canadians had, a huge need in getting a guy that could eat minutes. We saw it in the playoffs. They leaned a little bit too much on Lane Hudson, who I don't think has the body to play 25 minutes in the playoffs in a defensive role. And I don't think that can be his role. And now what you have is a plethora of young defensemen. And I can tell you the number one currency in the NHL is centers, and the number two is defensemen. So the Canadians can now set themselves up where they can look at, hey, maybe Mike Matheson is expendable. Maybe Jaden Struble is expendable. Maybe Arbor Xhekaj is expendable. Maybe Mailloux is expendable. Maybe Reinbacher, if you can put your hands on a legit number one center. We're talking about a number two, but I wouldn't mind getting a number one center, 87, if you're listening. Come on by. We'll sign you up. No, you don't want him? I'll do it.
No, he's not listening.
No, okay. Doesn't matter. Yeah, well, I'm down for a little 87.
No proof of that.
So listen, I think just because of his age, because of the contract, which I think is actually really good when you think about a 25-year-old right-handed defenseman that's had 70 points in the league. Kent Hughes, wow, great job, smelling like roses. No, I can't say enough positive things about this move.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say one thing though. If I can say one negative thing, just one. Emil Heineman's sneaky good. He's sneaky good, guys. He's a good hockey player. Like, he's
give up talent. You got to give up something, right?
No, and I think Emil Heineman is that kind of guy that will always be able to play on your third line. Always. He's that good. He can skate. He's way stronger than he looks. He's a guy that just
scores 20 goals.
Yeah, he can score 20 goals. I agree. I think Emil Heineman is that sneaky part of that deal that I think 2-3 years from now, if those prospects don't turn into grade A guys, they're not going to be mad about Emil Heineman. Emil Heineman doesn't hurt your.
That's what he asked for him, right?
Yeah,
what he asked for him. Right.
Yeah, and like Simon said, I mean, you have to give up something. You can't just. It's good to in fantasy just trade your spare parts, but I mean, at one point you have to give up a little bit of talent.
Yeah. I would have preferred Kirby Dach. I would have sent out Kirby Dach, or that certain Finnish guy we got. That certain Finnish guy I would have maybe sent out, but okay.
Yeah, not sure they're worth quite the same, or teams are as interested.
Clearly not.
It'll bring me to my next question, basically. So now that got me thinking about the offseason in general, and now free agency, and there's so much to go before the season starts again. And I just want to know, guys, like, if the Habs stay put, is that something for you guys that is already a successful offseason? Is this or do you want to see something more? Is it imperative that they do something more? So that's basically my question. Is like, what do you guys want to see, and are you satisfied with what's happened so far?
So I'll tell you, I don't want to see a stopgap guy. I don't want to see a Granlund example that they can get maybe in free agency. I want to see a guy, either a proven commodity a la 87, or I want to see somebody that fits what they're doing. Basically a Mason McTavish-esque type player, a little bit of size, a little bit of grit, a guy that can get nasty in the playoffs. The Canadians, I'll be honest with you, they look great on defense. They don't look that good on offense because there's a real hole down the middle. And if they don't address it, it's going to be tough, man. That they're a player away from being a Stanley Cup contender, and they're one player less to fighting for a playoff spot. And I really believe that. I think if you don't get a center, it makes everybody have to take a chair that they don't belong in. And that puts a lot of pressure. You know, you don't get a center for Demidov and you put him on that second line, and he's got to play with guys who might not necessarily be guys that can go get the puck. It might be difficult. He might have a tough year. I really believe you need a guy that can drive play on that second line, and putting that on Demidov already, tough ask. You need a center. You need a guy, a proven commodity, or a guy who fits what they're doing, a la Dobson, 25, 26, 27-year-old, who has a proven track record, who scored goals. Listen, if I'm Kent Hughes, I get on the phone and I overpay to get Mason McTavish. I really do. I'll call. I'll be like, listen, what do you want? Mayu, no problem. You want Mayu? Done. Yours. What else you want? You want a first-round pick? Done. Let's do this. Is that enough? Does Joshua Roy make it past the finish line? We'll figure it out. But I definitely, look, I'm willing to overpay because I think the Canadians are that close. But I also think that if they don't make a move, they're that far.
All right. Simon?
Yeah, I'm there with George. That's how close. But I think you can say that for a lot of the. If you're not the Panthers and you're not the top heavy teams in the league, I think you are one player. You know, are the Canadians in a playoff spot last year without the Nick Suzuki season? They're not. Are they in the playoffs without the Lane Hudson season? They're not. You take anybody in Florida and you can take away any player in that lineup, and they're probably still a playoff team, right? So it is that sensitive. I think that one player sensitive. There is a massive, massive glaring hole down the middle. It's Nick Suzuki, and Jake Evans is a fourth-line center. Great. But I don't think that varies into getting yourself into the postseason. It can't be a black hole, obviously, but if you could just get any type of hockey out of Jake Evans, you're fine. But second-line center, then third-line center, who is it? Newhook or Doc? Okay, let's just say it's Newhook and he plays well. That's fine. But in that second-line center position, and you have a kid that you drafted 5th overall that looks like he's a dynamo out there. He's an offensive juggernaut. And you have Patrick Laine, who's not going to bring much in his own end, the ring and wing puck battles, but he maybe on the power play and a little bit of 5-on-5 play, he gets you, that 30-35 goal mark. 30 would be great. But can we do this podcast in February and be critical of Demidov and Patrick Laine when they've had Kirby Dach, Jake Evans, Owen Beck as their center? Yeah. So they have to get better at that position. The names I mentioned before matter: Barkov, Bennett, Matthews, Tavares, Point, Chiarelli, whoever. You look at Ottawa; they're pretty dynamic down the middle. So it's only going to come from a trade. It's not coming in free agency. They got to get creative. McTavish is a guy, great. The name that I've been pounding for a while now is Nazem Kadri. 2-3. I think he's got 3 years left. Opens up that window to Michael H. But
I like that too.
It's been an excellent offseason. I think the team is better than it was last year, right? Demidov, in from game 1. Patrick Laine hopefully doesn't blow out his knee in preseason and he's healthy. So that's 2 great additions. And Noah Dobson is an incredible upgrade from Savard. So they're in a nice spot here. But if you want a challenge and you don't want to sit here and us doing a podcast in March, they got to win 3 of their last 5 to get into the postseason. You got to get better at that center ice position. So we can start by, St. Patrick's Day, where you've solidified pretty much your playoff spot. I don't know if that can happen, being that with the respect being that weak down the middle. It's Nick Suzuki. Well, you guys seen the Moneyball?
Of course.
Billy B.
Us 50 yards or feet of what, and then it's us. So. It's not their strength right now. I think every team in the league probably looks around. I think the Edmonton Oilers are in desperate need to upgrade their goaltending. So everybody's got their problems, but it's going to be hard to compete against. Is there a better division than the Atlantic Division? Other than the Buffalo Sabres, there's no. The Red Wings are a good team. Our Senators are a playoff team. The top 3 will be the top 3 again. The Canadians are trending in the right way. That's the best division in hockey. So I think something needs to be done with that second line center position.
I think, though, the one thing is they have a war chest of picks, and they've got some prospects now.
But you mentioned it before.
And
David Reinbacher is still in play.
Yeah,
we can live. I think, as a fanboy here, I can live in a world for the next 5-6 years It's Matheson, Dooley, Hudson, and Dobson. David Reinbacher is still in play. Mike Matheson is definitely in play. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Do they want to move on and give that spot to Reinbacher? Is Reinbacher the piece that gets McTavish or Kadri? Logan Mayu's still in play. Your 2026, something that I'd be very hesitant to give up, your first round pick is still in play. But if it means
I also think Simon, at some point you call Pittsburgh and you're like, what do we need to get this done?
That's not happening this year, George.
What do we need? What do we need?
I don't think it's happening this year. That's just from I know nothing. Just from what I've read, that Malkin's got 1 year left on his deal, and there's no way Crosby walks out until Malkin walks out. They walk out as a duo. Again, I just heard that this morning. Greg Wyshynski was on with Connor and Sean.
Which makes sense. It makes total sense.
So I don't think you don't need to go down that road. But yeah, McTavish, I know that many people didn't like Claude Giroux as a thing, but my answer to that is Claude Giroux or Alex. That's what I'm going up against. So if you tell me any player in the league that's an upgrade from Alex Newhook and Kirby Dach, and by the way, I think both those guys have a spot on this team. But those guys are third-line players. Kirby Dach needs to prove it, get healthy, and put himself back in that second-line spot, sure. But for now, I don't think you can open up camp and just give him that spot. So there is a glaring hole at that second-line center position that needs to be addressed.
Mitchie Gallo, for the record, Simon, this morning, he opened up his discussion with Dave Pagnotta by asking on your behalf if Nazem Kadri was in play. And Pagnotta did not say no. He said it would probably take a lot to get him out of Calgary and they would listen. He didn't say no.
But if you're not going to overpay now, when are you going to overpay? You have seven NHL defensemen. You have 9 bottom 6 guys, Kirby Dach, and Gallagher, and Anderson, and Newhook, and Roy, and Kapanen, and Beck, and Xhekaj, and Tuck. The list goes, like, if not now, when? Overpay. Like, if to get better, like, if you need a left tackle, you go overpay to protect your quarterback. If you need a center in basketball, that's your glaring need. You go and overpay. Whenever you're in debt, hey, guys, it's very simple. At the Walmart, a bottle of water costs you 50 cents. At a golf course, it costs you $3. On the beach, it costs you $6, and at La Ronde, it costs you $8. Right? When you're in desperate need for a bottle of water, you're in desperate need of a bottle of water. Here's the economics lesson for you, Dave. Overpay.
So on that note, we got 2 hours for Jordan Kyrou. So hopefully we get Jordan Kyrou the next 2 hours. I'm down. I'm down for it.
Doesn't really fit the glaring center hole.
He's Greek, Dave. He's Greek.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay, fair enough.
It doesn't.
I won't debate you guys on this subject.
You guys.
All right, well, thanks, boys.
That's it, boys. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
Have a great day.
Yeah.